a hospice nurse, and I'm also on the board at ABODE, and I am the chair of the education committee. And it's just my honor to welcome all of you tonight to our ABODE 2, fifth session. And we are starting to work on ABODE 3 already. So I hope to see some more faces, familiar faces next time. When we start this, it'll probably start in July. So, be on the lookout. So tonight's session is again called A Good Death, Returning to the Earth. And you're going to love tonight's program. We're going to talk about green burials or natural burials. Tomorrow morning in your inbox, you will get an email with tonight's evaluation of the program. And if you please fill that out, it was really, really helpful for us. And then also as a bonus question, any topics you might want to hear. Because, again, this isn't going to stop. We're going to continue on these ABODE academies because there is lots of information that we'd love to get out to the public. Let's see, what else can I tell you? So tonight, our format is our speakers are going to speak. We have two speakers. They're going to speak for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And I'm going to have you hold your questions until the end. But if you would look at the bottom of your screen, there's a little chat box. If you click on chat, you can put your questions in as they're talking. And then at the end, we'll go over all those questions. And we'll have a little discussion and go through it that way. And it's amazing. The hours go real fast. But so write your questions in the chat box and we'll go over those at the end. And I think Genaro is on the call.
Yes.
He is, okay. Yes. I'll introduce our speakers here in a moment. So our first one, we have Sunny Markham. She works with Countryside Memorial Park. And we have Genaro Reyes, and he works for Compassion Mortuary Services. So their background is Sunny Markham is passionate about helping families plan and experience the true peace and beauty of a natural burial. She and her daughter, singer-songwriter Chrystabell, co-own and operate the Countryside Memorial Park, a natural burial cemetery near San Antonio. Genaro Reyes is an independent funeral director. He's knowledgeable and passionate about the natural burial process and choice. Together, they help people achieve a beautiful, serene, natural, and affordable funeral for them and their loved ones. So we are so excited to have them here. We always open our programs with a contemplative moment, and we are going to be blessed tonight because Sunny's daughter, Chrystabell, is going to sing us through our meditation. All right, Chrystabell, it's all yours. Beautiful. Thank you. All right, Sunny, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chrystabell. That was beautiful. So I've owned and operated Countryside Memorial Park with my daughter ever since her father died, and he was our first green burial. And our second green burial was a home funeral, and we're going to talk about home funerals a bit tonight as well. But the history of the cemetery is her daddy bought the land in 1965, and he didn't know there was an old cemetery on the property. And I have a few pictures of that, and I can talk about them briefly as we go through those pictures. So go to the history. And history and today. So start out with the baby Belgrave. Yes. So as he was walking along one day, he stubbed his toe on some old burials, and that's a little girl from the 1800s. And the next slide.
Are you able to see this?
No.
Y'all
Okay.
can't see it? Okay.
Maybe double click it.
Because I'm screen sharing. About
Chrystabell, can you all see it?
yeah, we can see
You
it.
can see it.
It is on the screen where we are.
Yeah. I-
What do you see? Do you see
You see your directory.
a directory?
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to move the picture around the screen to see if you might get a view of it and any other. Very
Screen
interesting.
sharing. Well, maybe we won't have pictures tonight, unfortunately. Anyway, these graves.
If you can email them to me, I can see if I can pull them up.
Okay. All right. Do you see us now by chance?
Uh-huh.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we are, yeah, okay. And do you want to attempt to email those to
Sure.
her?
Yeah.
Because I know we just have a handful of time right now. So her father bought the land, and he was our first green burial so many years later. And we're also on a livestock ranch. So when people come here, they see horses and cows and wild birds, and they see all kinds of wonderful things. They might see snakes, we don't know.
You're still on. Go ahead,
I'm
Mama.
still on, I understand. So, but the cemetery is completely fenced. People want a natural burial, and when they're ready for one, or before they're ready for one, they come to us and find out what it's about. And I tell them about natural burial, and I also tell them that they need to speak with Genaro Reyes, who can actually tell us about a bit about himself right now.
Hello, good evening.
Evening.
I'm a funeral director and embalmer, licensed for about 18, 19 years now. Been around the industry in the embalming side, which is the science, the business side of it, the compassionate side, psychology kind of thing. A mix of different things within the industry, the whole variety of the in and out, the traditional, the different religions, the different costumes. Seeing cremation go up in percentages quite a bit. Seeing definitely the different prices from different locations, the family owned, the corporations. Just a mix of the I would say also the economic side of it, the very, very inexpensive all the way to the super duper expensive. So have experienced as well some losses personally. My grandmother, my 3-year-old baby, and also my father just recently. So I guess at this point I can say that that I understand the pain from my families as well. And just recently, within a year and a half or so, I've been working with Sunny with the green natural burials, and I just love it. It's just so amazing. It's just so, it's just the new old, and it's just so, it could be so elaborate, it could be so simple at the same time. The families love to participate in it, and they just kind of feel a little more sense of the closure, you know, to be able to participate.
And when people want a green burial, they go, well, how can I get one? And they can't just present their dead bodies to the cemetery. I mean, there's all kinds of logistics that are involved. And the logistics are, first, Genaro goes to pick up the body if they're not having a home funeral. And then he takes the body to be sheltered. And at the same time, the people are planning their families or their loved ones' burial with us and with Genaro. So it's all seamless. We work together as a team, and we're also independent. He's not a funeral home. He is an independent funeral director. And
Right.
I'm not a funeral home, I'm a cemetery. So, but between the two of us, we can handle anything that a family is looking for, including cremations, because Genaro handles that end, but people want a place to put they want a place to bury their loved ones' cremated remains, or they want a place to do scatterings. And I had pictures of all of that. But this is a night that we're just winging it, because we're like people, and it's like if someone has just died, people do not know what to do until unless they figured it out beforehand. Otherwise, they're just winging it. So it's a lot more challenging for them at a time of death than it is for us right now. But anyway.
Correct. And just to kind of catch up with a couple of the questions, I'm not the only one, and I never claim to be the only one. Actually, I'm a teacher at heart. So I love to teach whatever I know and pass it along to others. So more and more, you know, people can do this. Like Sunny said, I'm an independent funeral director, so I'm able to just kind of coordinate where the body's stored, which is in refrigeration, before the actual burial. So as many days as necessary. Definitely nature's gonna take its course, so the sooner the better. But we're able to wait, you know, within a couple of days to all the way to maybe about 2 weeks or so. So that's what we do as far as the body is concerned. We put them in refrigeration, cold storage. And no, I guess at this point, yes, I'm the only one that does green burials here because of the financial side of it. It's not worth it for the funeral homes to promote it. It's not worth it for the funeral homes to educate the consumer because it's not a moneymaker. You don't sell expensive caskets, you don't sell expensive vaults, you don't sell the expensive art of embalming, the expensive fleet, things like that. So no, it's not promoted, it's definitely not encouraged. So yeah, nobody else is doing it right now because of that reason. And
because they don't make money at it. But the difference between a conventional burial and a natural burial, I'll tell you that every year in our country, the funeral industry uses approximately 30 million board feet of hardwood and 2,700 tons of copper and bronze and 105,000 tons of steel and 106 million tons of concrete for vaults, and 800,000 gallons of embalming fluid are used. And that's, if you can think about that, that's enough to fill about 8 Olympic-sized swimming pools. And this happens every year, and we cannot do this in our country much longer. So the more people that understand about natural burial, the more they're saying, yeah, that's what I want. So natural burials are 100% biodegradable. They don't use any embalming, and they don't use any concrete, and they don't use metals or vaults. And our bodies do their part in helping to sustain the planet with the perfect cycle of life and death. Everywhere we walk, something has died. I mean, that's part of the soil, that's part of the compost, that's part of life, and things grow from that. So natural burials are the perfect return to earth. And it gives families a wonderful way to have their hands on their loved ones if they want to. Genaro can help people with home funerals. If someone wants to keep their loved one at home, Genaro can step them through it. He can step them through how to wash their hair and prepare them for a beautiful burial. And having their hands on their loved ones is unforgettable for them. So, and it brings peace to them. So we don't allow any stand-up markers in our green cemetery. And our cemetery does not look like a lawn and never will. It looks like, and again, I wish I had those pictures, that the wildflowers are stunning out there in the spring. And we have scissor tails, and we even have visitations during the during the burials. Once we had a visitation of a hummingbird. Are we able to see those pictures now?
I don't know. I just sent them to Mary.
Darn it.
We're still working
so
on it.
There's one of the
No, I can
cemetery up
see
right
it.
now.
Yeah,
flowers.
beautiful.
We
Yeah.
accidentally figured it out.
Great.
Right when I sent them all to Mary.
So that's some of the wildflowers, and there are blue bonnets and red bonnets and all kinds of creatures just living.
There's a specific acreage right now that's fenced in, but there's room for growth as far as capacity is concerned. As far as our refrigeration is concerned, right now with COVID, everything just multiplied to at least about 4 times. So yeah, it is very challenging right now when it comes to refrigeration. But we've been able to manage, and there's not just one location, there's multiple locations. There's a network of funeral directors and that pretty much work together, and other mortuaries that, you know, it's part of the network that I have built and been part of. And you know, we managed to take care of the loved one and place in refrigeration for the period that it's needed. And then the cemetery, again, there's room for growth.
So, and these are some of the questions.
Oh, I see the questions here. Okay, since there are not markers, do families and loved ones still return to the cemetery to pay their respects? Yes, they do. And everyone that's buried there must have a marker. And that is my art, is the carving of the markers. And I allow the families to design them. And I take their ideas and I create beautiful natural stones. The designs are colorful and they're as hardy as any monument, and they're flat. And they're as unique as the person herself or himself was.
And what motivated his green burial? Do you mind if I answer that?
Sure, Chrystabell wants to answer your question.
So I just saw that Darwin has the question, what motivated my father to have a green burial cemetery? And I think it was simply that he understood, he had a way of being a bit on the crest of the wave. So this was probably like 2005 that he began telling me that he really wanted our family's legacy to be a green burial cemetery. And at the time that just seemed radical. And of course, when he passed away, I knew exactly what he wanted, which was a green burial. So part of what my father really wanted to do as well was offer affordable burials, because the cost of conventional burial is just astounding. And when you take out the concrete grave liner and a fancy coffin, and the embalming and all these other accoutrements, and really you have a very simple and elegant burial, your costs go way down. And I haven't looked recently, but I think that our prices are the most affordable burial sites, or at least very close to, that you'll really find anywhere. So the motivation was to have something that was beautiful, affordable, and something that our family could feel really great about being to offer, you know, people who were interested in something that was sustainable and conscious. So that was really my father's motivation. He was all about the love.
Yes, Kim was asking, what is the approximate cost difference between a natural burial versus natural? Are you saying, Kim, natural burial versus conventional or traditional?
Yes, I meant traditional, I'm sorry.
Gotcha. Well, at Countryside, you can literally get in and out without and there are many variables. You can spend more, but you're looking at approximately $3,600, and that is with the death care, such as what Genaro does. And again, there are variables. Whatever you ask him to do may cost more. So that's with Genaro's, and with the plot cost and the cemetery services, which is the open and closing of the grave. Now, if you want to see an incredible survey of funeral homes and cemetery prices, that actually says the names of the funeral homes, and it's in Central Texas. Nancy Walker, who is actually on our Zoom tonight, she is the executive director of Funeral Consumers Alliance of Central Texas. And just go there and just look at the survey that she's done for 2020, and she has the one for 2021 coming up on, I think, February 28th or something. Is that correct, Nancy?
It's being proofread as we speak.
Okay, and I'm sure you're proofreading it as we're speaking.
So, yeah. So on our, let me give people our website. It's FCA, like Funeral Consumers Alliance. CTX, like Central Texas.org. And there's actually a shortcut to the funeral home price. That's it. There's a shortcut right there on the home page to go directly to the funeral home price survey, where we pick a price list from the 54 funeral homes in our service area, and we crunch the figure. Yeah, scroll down just a little bit farther. See right there? See that oval, that blue oval? There, click on that. And now just scroll down. Okay, so, but listen, don't click on anything yet. Every year we update the funeral home survey, where you can see how much it costs to get cremated and stuff like that. But what I'd like you to do, every other year in the summer, we do a cemetery survey. So if you could click on that second hot link to the cemetery prices. Now, Sunny Cemetery Countryside Memorial is not in our 5-county service area, so it's not on our survey. But still, if you look at some of the different columns here, you can see how many of the traditional or conventional cemeteries require grave liners. That's the third column from the right. So right there, you have a substantial savings because natural burial never involves any kind of concrete or metal grave liner. So anyway, this is a sampling. There are just hundreds of cemeteries in our area. Some of them, they're just little rural ones or little church ones that if you blink, you'll miss them. But this is a good sampling, and I can't imagine that prices vary too much differently in the San Antonio area from what they do up near Austin. So anyway, these surveys are there for your gazing leisure. They're free, and just when you have time, go feast yourself. Thanks for bringing it up, Sunny.
Yes,
And
thank
just to give a price real quick, in San Antonio, starting with the funeral and the cemetery is $10,000. That's just starting.
We
So
never combine those figures in any of our surveys. We keep the cemetery and the
separate
funeral home separate, even if it's a situation where the funeral home and the cemetery belong to the same company.
Understood. Yeah, so I'm basing it on about $6,000 for the funeral starting and about $4,000 for the cemetery starting.
Quite a difference.
Correct.
Quite a difference.
Yeah. And the thing is, people, unless they have planned for it or have learned about natural burial, when someone dies unexpectedly, suddenly they have a body that they don't know what to do with. So they pick up the phone and they call the nearest funeral home or one that they've heard of. And they're in such shock, they often just go with that one and buy it. Some of them call us, but because they don't understand about natural burial, they say, oh my God, I don't understand what that is. And then they go and they outspend themselves and go into debt. And I've seen this happen a couple of times.
Education is incredibly important, and it's something that we're really, like, we're so thankful to be able to share this with everyone, and we're still, even learning how to give the best information because we're in it every day. So these questions are really helpful. But even with people who are in the death care industry, knowing about natural burial it's I wouldn't say it's on the fringe, but there's still a lot of education that needs to be done. I mean, one of the first things that people always ask me is it legal? And it's like it's it's been happening forever, like literally this is how people have been buried throughout time naturally, and it's only so recently in history that the contemporary burial has become in vogue, or what everyone really turns to, and it's a symptom of a greater issue of people not discussing the death process or end of life ritual until it's upon you, and then you're just kind of in that default mode of just kind of want to figure it out and not you're in distress. And so this is kind of how this is perpetuated, that people don't learn about all the options for end of life rituals. So that's really what we're hoping to do, is offer people an option, a sustainable green natural option of returning to earth. And pretty much everyone who hears about it, at least in our circles, really responds from their heart that, wow, that sounds like such a better situation than what I thought my only options were. So,
Honey, can you take us from the beginning? Like, let's say a family approaches you. How does the process go?
Well, the first thing that I do is I start to interact with Genaro, and I text him and I say, there's a family and her name is, and here's her information. And I give her his information. So they get in contact, and Genaro says, look, I don't have to come pick up the body right now. If you want to keep your loved one at home and have her lie in honor for a while, then let's do that. And you call me when you're ready for me to come and pick her up. So Genaro transports the bodies and he shelters the bodies. And in that time, he and I are coordinating with the family about the green burial and what they want, what they envision. So there are a lot of different ways to actually have a green burial. You can be shrouded, or you can like make your own shroud, or you can be, everything has to be in a biodegradable. So a biodegradable container or a shroud or both. Or, you know, they don't have to be, they can be fully dressed in and be put in a biodegradable container, or they can be fully dressed and be put directly into the earth. About a year ago, Genaro and I had a direct burial, which means that, well, the mama died like at 6 in the morning, and they'd already talked to me, and then they called Genaro and said, can you come pick mama up? And we want her buried. We want to see if she can be buried today at 3 o'clock. And so Genaro said, let me see. He said, if it's humanly possible to do, we will do it. So it was humanly possible for us to do that. You know, the stars were aligned for that mama's burial. And Genaro brought her, and she was in her little pajamas, but the family had given Genaro her clothes that he wanted her, that she wanted them to be dressed in. And because the little lady she'd been an executive at Neiman Marcus, and it was a little business suit, and she was in her 90s, right? So Genaro and I put her little business suit on, and that's exactly what they wanted. And we buried her, and the family was not there. They said, oh, mama's already gone to heaven. We don't need to be there. We're going, okay. So, Genaro, do you want to add anything else to that?
Yeah, so Sunny, I, and also the cemetery crew, we pretty much run the whole process pretty much seamless. We kind of keep it very organized in the fact to where anything that has to do with cemetery goes through Sunny, anything that has to do with the actual body goes through me. And between me and Sunny are communicating anything as far as dates, opening and closing, things like that, and she'll communicate with the opening and closing crew. So as soon as a death occurs, then Sunny or I are called, and we communicate with each other, and then we ask, are you guys ready for us to come and pick him up? And as soon as they are, then that's when I go. That's when I go and I pick up the body. I collect information for the death certificate so I can file it through the state. And from there, get all the reports and permits that I need for the burial, and also order the death certificates for the families, as many as they wish to purchase for other legal processing. And at the same time, Sunny's working with the cemetery, the grave diggers, and coordinating a date. And then she'll take over and talk about details about the service, as far as flowers, anything personalizing like music, photos, brochures, things like that they want to be part of. And as similar as they all can be, they are so different. All of them are super duper different. They are very personal. They're very unique in its own way. One of the questions was also like if there's any stigmas kind of thing. A lot of the green burial community, a lot of the green burial families, they've studied it before. They really have read into it. They're very interested in it. They want to learn. A lot of times they're like, I've never done this before. I have no idea what to do. So we then say, you know what? If you've never done this before, we're going to walk you right through it. It's going to be the simplest thing you will ever do, but the most involved. And we sure do. I mean, we walk them right along. We hold their hand throughout the whole process. We invite them to participate as much as they do. We don't force them to do anything they don't want to do. The families decide, and they have a beautiful experience.
They do. The graves are adorned beautifully. I know how to do it. And sometimes the families want to help. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they want it all done before they get there.
And it's okay.
Yeah, we use mulch. And I would say everybody goes away with saying, that was beautiful. I just loved that. And the people that are just then getting acquainted with what a natural burial is, they're going, you know what? I think I want this. How do I reach you? You know, how do I talk to you about this?
So yeah, so my part in it is, and it is the body, and I'll explain to the families. Anything body goes through me. So my job is to remove any plastic or metal that's on them. You know, like diapers, plastic bracelets, metal, anything on the clothing, buttons, plastics on the clothing, things like that. That's my job to do. Basically, Sonny's trusting me for me to do that part, because by the time the body makes it to the cemetery, they're already shrouded, they're already covered, they're already enclosed. So that's my department, that's my job. By the time they get there, they're ready to go. And then she takes over and she adorns everything around, flowers, mulch, anything personal. And we have experience in each one of the services. People are so in tune with the actual participation and the actual happening, where the wind becomes a signal, a symbol, a hummingbird, butterflies. I mean, anything and everything becomes part of the experience, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, the most unusual things happen, and people just look around and say, "Yeah, that was Dad. Yeah, Dad loved that old Dad. Yeah, Dad would love that old bull that just walked up to the fence and mooed at us." You know, we've had hummingbirds just come and hover over a grave. Mm-hmm. And guess what she got on her marker?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we've got a couple of questions.
We have some more questions.
So I think this is interesting. So why do you have to remove the jewelry, buttons, etc.? It's because those items are not biodegradable. And so everything we bury, we want to be able to return to the earth. So that is why we would remove those types of items. How many natural burial cemeteries are there in Texas? So I think maybe a handful. Yeah, like handful. Maybe 4, I think, 3, 4. So there are some cemeteries who have Jewish parts of their cemetery, and the Jewish faith is directed at natural burial with pine boxes and no embalming. So there are cemeteries that have sections. Is this correct, Genaro?
Yes,
but they have vaults, right? The Jewish cemeteries, do they have vaults?
I don't think so.
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
Who digs the graves? Do you use heavy equipment or shovels? Do you want to handle that?
We work with a company who's completely dedicated and loves doing what they do. And they actually bring an excavator and they open the grave. And when it comes time for the grave to be closed, that can happen as how the family wants it. Sometimes families want to use our 3 golden shovels to fill the grave in, or maybe they just want to put a few spadefuls in. And Genaro and I are right there with them, handing them the shovel full of dirt, and it's very meaningful. Or the gentleman that opens and closes the graves, he will do it by hand and finish what they don't finish, or he'll come with the excavator and finish it off that way. And people can actually lower their loved ones themselves, or we can use a lowering device. We can lower with nobody there. We can lower with like one person there that wants to witness. And we had that happen about 2 weeks ago. She wanted to witness her husband being lowered and the grave being covered. And she saw that. She went home to be with her family and to come back at the time of their actual service for him.
So yes, and also the families participate in the actual, and everything's done so gently. As far as each shovel that goes in, we start on the sides, and then we start filling up the, a little bit more and more and more. They can participate as much as they want. They can stop. They can let us do the whole job. And if the excavator is being used to cover, it's an orchestrated, oh my God, it's like so gentle. Even with that big machine, it's just like so gentle. It's a beautiful experience because the individuals that are part of our team really care about the experience all the way through. So it's just how it's done. Yes, it's nothing new. The Muslims, like the question says, yes, they do it. The Jewish, all of them, it's nothing new. But those are so unique and close niche groups that don't allow anybody else. With us, everybody's welcome.
Everybody's welcome. And some, although they will do natural burial, they might put a regular tombstone up or a grave liner, so that is not natural. But yeah, many of them are direct and return to earth.
I want to answer a couple of questions here about the space itself. How much available space do you have at Countryside? We have an acre and a half dedicated to the burials right now as the designated cemetery, but we can potentially expand. And right now we're probably doing 3 a month.
Sometimes we do 1, sometimes we do 3
per month.
It's hard to
So
know.
it's still very light.
Yeah.
We're still getting the word out about our cemetery, but we could do hundreds. We are in no danger of filling up. And as far as the land, this land has been in my family for 50 years. The cemetery is nestled in 82 acres that we own, and we have no intention of ever selling this. This will be in our family, and the cemetery space will be designated a cemetery into the foreseeable generational future. That's what it is as a cemetery. So
Robert asked, are we regulated by the state? Well, we were a member of the funeral commission, and then I went to pay the membership again, and he said, well, y'all don't have to be members anymore. So we once were, and now we don't have to be, which is fine.
But every burial is recorded, so
Every
Sunny has a
burial
record.
is recorded. I keep a paper record of it in my office and also online in my Google Drive. And the cemetery is gridded out and plotted out, and sections are numbered, and we know where everyone is.
And as far as the death, every death is reported to the state via a death certificate electronic system. So yes, it's also recorded through a sponsor funeral home.
yes. Can you expand your cemetery land? Yes. If we were to have all of the plots in our cemetery taken, we could potentially make it a larger cemetery. Natural burials designated in natural sanctuaries.
Yes, some land conservation. Nancy, who is an expert in this as well, just mentioned that when a cemetery requires a grave liner, like Orthodox Jews bury the body with the grave liner upside down so that the open side is on the bottom. But still you have concrete,
Mm-hmm.
It's like a bowl that's dumped, it's like a bowl that's like dumped on it.
And that's usually perpetual care cemeteries that require that.
And the reason that they require that is they're lawn cemeteries, and they don't want to see any kind of depressions. That's a no-no, because that looks like, somebody's buried there. And we don't have depressions. We have mounds for a while, and as the body decomposes, we move the mounds and flatten everything out. So,
and the upside down concrete box is used because they're trying to merge the tradition of the body actually touching the ground, but also to to be able to meet the requirement of the cemetery, which is a grave liner. That's why they put it upside down.
Yeah.
Yes, we are open for tours. If you are interested in coming to see the cemetery, we would love to host you and receive you. Yes, you can absolutely choose your spot when you're here and do a pre-need burial,
A pre-purchase,
a
yes.
pre-purchase burial plot. And you're more than welcome to come see our space. It's really quite beautiful.
Mhm.
And do you want to talk about the scattering? Someone's interested.
Yes, we have. We do help people who have the cremated remains of their loved ones, and some people have these urns, and they've had these urns on their mantle forever, and then
Closet.
they die, and it's like, what happens to all those mantle urns? It's like somebody's got a, it's like an albatross for some people because they don't know who they belong to. It's not part of their family, but yet they bought this house or this estate sale and there's an urn. So to prevent yourself from being a mantle urn that nobody knows about or wants anymore, it's best if you can dump out the ashes into a biodegradable urn and have a beautiful ceremony to bury and have a beautiful goodbye. And then you have a marker and a beautiful place to go and visit in the country to remember your loved ones. You can also do scatterings. We have St. Francis, and he is in a tree grotto. And we've had beautiful scatterings with St. Francis in the tree, all around him. Flowers, just a beautiful ritual with him.
And yes, we can accommodate people who have died of COVID and other infectious diseases. And that's really, Genaro's the one handling the body, but we're taking all the necessary precautions as far
Absolutely.
as gathering and the burial site is concerned. But if you have crossed over, we will accept you, and we'd be honored to have your body in our place. There's no restrictions.
And honestly, the danger is with us, the living, not necessarily the dead. So there's really no danger at that point. They don't speak, they don't spit, they don't, pretty much transfer any of that. Obviously, you touch and then you consume, then yes, but other than that, it's not the dead, it's the living.
So
Pets. Nancy had asked about pets because I know she's a cat woman. And actually I was a pug woman until my pug died, and I was devastated. And the first thing I thought was, well, I'll have him cremated. I'm thinking, why? When I have a natural burial cemetery, it's just something that I just immediately thought of. It's like, so we had a beautiful burial for him, but we keep the pet burials within our family. Our closest friends get to bury their pets because we have a cemetery exemption, and you can't bury pets in a human cemetery, or I guess sell pet burials for a human cemetery. However, we have plenty of space to bury pets in a separate section. So yes, we do bury pets.
let's see. So as far as our timeline here, how would you like to proceed?
Yeah, we've got about 7 minutes left. We'll go over some other questions that weren't answered, like, Genaro, how long can a person keep a body at their home?
At their home, they allow us to do 24 hours.
24 hours, okay. And
legally.
But if I have families in hospice who haven't heard of this, would you both come to their home and discuss it and talk with them?
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah, absolutely would. And what I wanted to say, how long you can keep a body, you can use dry ice. You can use, people can keep bodies for a couple of days, and they can have, that's what a home funeral is about. Now, you can't go into a home funeral without knowing what you are doing, because it's like, you can't. And Genaro can walk families through that.
Mhm. And hospice nurses, I love my hospice nurses that
Yes.
really care. They help the families dress their loved one. They wash them. They do their hair, their nails. It's just a beautiful experience. It's participation. It's on their bed where they're comfortable. People can come in and go as they need to visit, to view, to say goodbye. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
It's probably the most beautiful experience I've ever had personally, when our 40-year-old friend, the fine artist that painted this incredible painting behind us, when she crossed over unexpectedly, we had a home funeral for her. And we were able to all go, and there were about 8 to 10 of us there. And we washed her hair. She was actually a fairy goddess. And we did her makeup, and we covered her with veils and a beautiful natural shroud, and put pomegranates at her feet. And people can do those beautiful things if they know they can do it. So it was a remarkable experience. And really, that's the reason I fell in love with home funerals and natural burial. And one of my mentors here is Nancy Walker. And we're so lucky to have her on this,
Of course.
on this call here. But Genaro and I can help a family through it, or Genaro can, or
Yeah, and just like anything that helps preserve. So we just ask for y'all to lower the temperature at home, as much, the most possible.
Might open the windows, right?
We're supposed to open the windows to let the soul out first.
yes.
But if it's the middle of June or July, you don't want to do that too long.
Yeah, turn the air conditioner on, and get the dry ice. I mean, there's a protocol. And it's a simple protocol, but if you don't know it yet, well, there's actually Home Funeral Alliance, and there are, before our COVID happened, there's the Home Funeral Conference for all over the states.
But if the temperature is right, not a lot is going to happen in 24 hours, as far as, the body taking its course. It's not, if the temperature is right, nice and cool inside kind of thing.
Good. So I guess one last question before we wrap up. You talked about containers. If we don't shroud the body, you have containers that you put them in?
Yes, biodegradable containers. And I work with a company called Passages International. And if someone just wanted to go there and look at the biodegradable containers that they have there, it'll give them a good idea what a biodegradable container is. They can be made of seagrass or willow or bamboo, and they're all, or you can have the beautiful willow basket. And we've used all of those to, just the most beautiful experience. We buried grandmas in their 90s with open caskets with, and we closed at the time of the burial, but the open casket was actually a cardboard cremation casket that Genaro set them up with. And they were artists, and they painted it. And they had the grandma in her little nightie, and they dressed her up.
Yeah.
And they had their beautiful rituals with her body there present.
What do these cost? So I can see them, about between almost 2,000 each. Oh,
Yeah.
Between 8 and 15, 1,600. Yeah, it just really depends. An air tray can also be used, but what an air tray is what the body is placed in to be able to ship out via cargo. So yeah, it's basically plywood underneath and then cardboard on top. So yes, welcome to use air trays. We're just gonna remove the nylon straps on it, basically. And can be used, kind of like metal screws or nails or staples in it, kind of thing. So we just got to be careful with that part.
And
Yeah.
you can use a quilt if there was a quilt that was so close to your heart and you wanted your beloved to be wrapped in a quilt, then we could do something like that too.
The first time I made a call was I went with my friend. It was also one of my mentors to prepare a body to be transported by the funeral director. And the wife said, well, let's just wrap him in this sheet. And we said, sure. And we wrapped him in the sheet that they loved. And it was part of their life. And we tied it with beautiful ties. And it was beautiful. And everybody was happy.
Sunny, how strict are you about, you mentioned the woman being buried in her business suit? Remember, from
Yes,
wherever?
yes.
And I hate to say, the first thing in my mind was, I wonder if it had any polyester in it, or, you've mentioned buttons and things like that.
Right.
But
Yeah,
as far as fabrics,
yeah.
how strict are you?
Well, Genaro had, as he said, already removed the buttons and the metal zipper. And so the fabric, we weren't sure about. I mean, we knew it was wool, and it was a coat and a little skirt and her shoes. And it was really hot, if you can get the picture. But she, it's exactly what the family wanted. So
In that case,
yeah. And
But not the pantyhose. Finally,
no.
finally free of pantyhose.
I don't think when she was working at Neiman Marcus, they had pantyhose.
Oh,
I mean,
garter
she was
belt.
really old.
Garter belt.
98.
Girdles and garter belts.
Well, she was too much of a lady to ask us to remove them. So no, she didn't have them on.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yes.
Well, we are out of time. I can't believe it. But I just want to thank you guys so much. This was, exactly what we wanted to hear. And we need to get the word out. This is the way to go. And
Yes.
I just hope we can share this with hospice patients and hospice agencies, since we're kind of front line to those that are dying in the community. But thank you so much.
Genaro and I can come anywhere to give a talk, and everybody can wear masks, social distance, whatever, because people need to know about this. And if they don't know about it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
I want to thank all you hospice individuals, and I always thank them at every removal that I make, because it's such a beautiful, beautiful, also art. I mean, just to see and help somebody to cross over is just art. And I really thank you guys. Every single removal that I make it's just part of what we're doing to help individuals.
That's right. None of us are getting out of here alive. Somebody can help us cross over. Absolutely. Well, so remember, tomorrow morning, everyone, you'll get an email with a survey for tonight's program, and please fill that out. Next week is our last installment of ABODE Academy 2, and we're going to hear from Darwin Howardson. He's going to talk about life after loss, companions and grief.
Wave your hand, Darwin.
Darwin, where are you? Yeah, so we'll have Darwin back, and I hope you can all join us. So anything you want to mention, Mary?
We also have the ABODE Book Club. If you are interested in reading along with us, we're reading Being with Dying by Joan Halifax, and we're only on chapter 4. So if anybody wants to join that, we're meeting every Tuesday night, 6:30 to 7:30, taking a chapter a week. You're certainly welcome to join.
It's been my absolute pleasure to be here.
Oh, well, nice to meet you all. I wish this could have been in person, but this is good. So we're all getting really familiar with Zoom, aren't we?
Slowly.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. Well, you all have a blessed evening, and we'll see you next week.
good
Thank
night.
you very much.
Good night.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.